we are all using the same product for this project. And I'm going to walk through talking a little bit more in detail about the importance of a logo and creating a tagline and having some semblance of branding when you're looking at why that's important for a business. All right, so our first part that we're going to look at is going to be right in here. And again, all the materials are here for you as we go through this. If you have any questions, you know, I always share all the slides with you so you can see everything. So we're going to look a little bit more into detail on logos. So, and this stuff, it's kind of an interesting project that, yeah, I just think is cool. All right, so everybody has seen logos all over the place. And everywhere you look, you will see a logo for different companies. And you know, I'm sure, hang on, let me just see if I put something in the classroom. I don't know if I did. I didn't, okay. All right, that's okay. So the purpose of a logo is it kind of defines your brand identity. It helps you stand out from the crowd, and it allows people to recognize your brand. And if you get a really good logo, over time, you might not even need your name on it. So throw in the chat if you know of a logo of a brand that doesn't even have the company name on it and that allows you to recognize the brand. So try to think just off the top of your head and throw the name of a company in there. Oops. Nike is perfect. McDonald's, Google, Apple. Yep. Burger King. Burger King's an interesting one, and we'll talk a little bit about that. LeBron. Okay. Yeah, the Jordan logo.
Whoa.
Have any of you guys seen the movie Air? Speaking of Jordan. Yeah. I love that movie. I think it's really, really cool. If you guys have not seen it, it's a great, great marketing movie. Yeah, I agree on the LeBron thing. I'm not really sure on that either, but that's okay. Okay, so the whole idea is, I'm surprised nobody brought up like Starbucks, Target. Those are logos that you don't even need the name of the store to know what brand it is. All right, so moving on. All right, we are going to watch a quick little video about what a logo is. Please let me know if you can't hear it for any particular reason. Turning my volume way up.
If I showed you an athletic apparel swoosh without context, I bet you'd be able to guess that it was Nike's. Why? Because their logo says a lot without saying a lot. But how did they do this? Your logo is so much more than a simple image. It has the power to tell your customers what you do, who you are, and what you value. In this video, we'll talk about what makes the perfect logo and how to create one with clarity, purpose, and pizzazz. Simply put, logos are brand symbols, and they could be a mixture of text and images. A powerful logo communicates what a company does and what they are about. Different types of logos can consist of a brand mark, logo type, and tagline. And when you bring these three elements together, boom, that's where the magic happens. Your logo's primary function is to help you differentiate yourself from the competition. So your first step is to stalk. Did I say stalk? I meant research. Check out your competitors' logos and catalog what kinds of colors, images, and text they use. Now that you know what's out there, you can create a unique logo that can't be confused with theirs. Word to the wise, be different, but not so different that your customer doesn't understand what you're trying to say. Your logo needs to tell people the essential information about your business. Think of the core things you want your customers to know. Perhaps it's your industry, services, brand values, or target demographic. Then consider using associated images to represent these details in your logo. Maybe start playing with colors that connect to your business's sector. Then explore different font styles to communicate your brand's voice and personality. And if you want to dive deeper into logo color psychology, head over to the blog for more. Logos can create strong visual associations with a business, which in turn helps customers keep your brand top of mind. You want your logo to become so ubiquitous that your customers can recognize it without your brand name attached to it. See what I mean? Your logo is a simple but mighty tool to help you grow your business. Once you're clear on your branding strategy, what you do, who you are, and what you value, you're ready to create your logo.
All right, so that had a lot of info. Oops, don't want to do that. All right, so we're now going to look at different
That's not my
kinds
sister's
of logos because they fall
that's
into
not
different
stupid.
categories.
Yeah, I know.
So there's 7 different types of logos. And we're going to look at each of those kind of different categories that they fall in. The 7 different types are word, letter, pictorial,
No.
abstract, a combination, a mascot, or an emblem. So we're going to look at these different types, and as we walk through them, you can decide what you like and what you dislike in a logo. So when we look at different companies, on our first line we have Wordmark, right? So Google actually like started out with the full word and now really just has the G. eBay, Coca-Cola, we have our Netflix, CNN, HP, we have pictures. Whoops, sorry, I whipped through that. All right, let's watch the video and then we'll come back. Sorry.
Designing a logo seems like it should be simple. All you have to do is make your brand name look really nice, right? Wrong, of course. There are actually 7 different types of logos, and each one will give your brand a distinctive feel. So let's take a look. Monogram logos and letter marks are logos that consist of letters, usually a brand's initials. This type of logo is all about simplicity and works really well if your business has a long or complicated name, like National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Bit of a mouthful, right? NASA. See how much easier that is to say and remember? Astronauts. What can't they do? A word mark or logo type is a font-based logo that's great for brands with short, distinct names, like Visa or Google. They kind of sound like gibberish, don't they? But they're catchy gibberish. Combining a memorable name with strong typography helps your brand stand out. But that means the typography you use needs to capture the essence of your business. So your word processor's default is probably not going to cut it. Boring. Now, how much nicer does it look when we add great typography to the mix? Stunning. A pictorial mark, sometimes called a brand mark or logo symbol, is a standalone icon or graphic and works best for companies with strong brand recognition. These brands have been around for a while and they're just so recognizable, you probably know who they are without any words. If you're just getting started, it's a good idea to use pictorial marks in addition to other logo elements, at least until people know you a little bit better.
I don't know.
An abstract mark is a specific type of pictorial logo, but instead of being a recognizable image, like an apple or a bird, it's an abstract geometric form that represents your business. What's fun about abstract marks is you don't have to be so literal about what your business does. You can convey it symbolically through color and form. See how this very famous set of rings implies unity, interconnection, people of all backgrounds coming together to share their love of sport and community? Well, sorry, got a bit carried away there, but see what a good logo can do? Want to add a little personality to your logo design? Mascot logos use an illustrated character to represent your business. Think of them as the ambassador for your brand. Mascots are great for companies that want to give off a warm and wholesome impression, or appeal to families and kids. Like this. Adorable, right? For more cute and cuddly creations, check out our previous video on mascot logos. A combination mark is just what it sounds like, a logo that combines text and imagery. It's kind of like covering all your bases, with text and imagery working together to hit home your brand's message. Sorry, I'm British. Not sure if I got that metaphor right. Once your amazing brand starts to take over the world, you may be able to rely exclusively on a logo symbol and not always have to include your name. An emblem logo is when you put typography inside a symbol or an icon. Think badges, seals, and crests. They tend to look very traditional, but they can be classic too. Or how about retro? Now you know the 7 types of logo designs. You can find one that works best for you and your business. Until next time, logo lovers.
All right, so kind of interesting. I'm actually going to share a quick aside, and we're going to switch screens for a minute because I just messaged myself something. Let's see if I can make it work. Hold on. Okay. Let me see. All right. I wanted to share these because I saw this on Instagram and I thought it was very cool. Because we're going to look a little at the Pepsi logo. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is Pepsi cleverly found their hidden logo within nature. So if you like take this alone, you see that Pepsi, the red, white, and blue logo right there, which is kind of cool. And they had a bunch of different ones. If there's a beach, there's Pepsi. So these are unique uses of their logo. And this is more, if there's a beach, there's Pepsi. So if you kind of isolate that, you can see that their logo is in there, which is kind of cool. All right, that's my big share for today. All right, let's go back over here. All right, you guys are all still seeing my screen, yeah? Excellent. Good, moving on. All right, so when she was talking a little about typography. And if you've never taken a graphic design class, this might be new language to you, but it's how you arrange different font styles and colors and sizes and effects to make text more appealing. And, it's what do you do to the text? What does the font look like? Those are very important considerations when you're doing any sort of marketing material. You would be thoroughly amazed at the amount of time that goes into thinking of these things. And if you think about the whole logo idea, think about the fact that, for most cases, you're going to be stuck with the same logo for a few years. We'll look at a couple of logos that morph over time, but generally you want to keep something very close to what it was when you established your brand, because it gets recognizable by people. So when we're talking about typography, there's different things we're going to look at. So I'm going to like do a little annotating on here just so you guys can see. What do I want? Text. You know what? I just want that color. Okay. Hold on. Okay. All right. So when we're looking at typography terminology, the stuff that you're going to be really most interested in, oops, sorry, hold on. Screwed that up. Hang on. Draw. Okay. All right. So this word here, kerning, if you look here, kerning refers to the space between letters. And if you're working in any program that allows you to play with typography, there will be an option. I think on Canva it lists it as letter spacing. In more advanced programs, you can move like just the P and the O closer together, and that's called kerning. And it helps when you have to fit things in a certain way, or if you want letters to be touching each other. So that's a big important one. Other things that are very important is this term serif. So serif, there are two terms you'll see, serif and sans serif. Serif means that the type has these little pieces on the top and the bottom that really they accentuate the letter. If you look at these letters up here, they don't have that. So these are sans serif, and the word typography is serif. If you look at the logo here for Virtual Enterprises, what type of font is that? Is it serif or sans serif? So just drop that in the chat. So we're looking at this. Is it serif or sans serif? Come on, guys. Yeah, there we go. Sans serif. All right, so it is not serif. Serif means that it has these little things on it here. So it is sans serif. That's, so if it doesn't have these little things on the edges of the letters, it means it's sans serif. Okay, awesome. Can I close this? Let me do that now. Okay. Other stuff that we really want to pay attention to. Your baseline is very important, because your baseline is where all your type, whoops, that was supposed to be a straight line, where all your type starts. Notice that when you have some of these letters go below your baseline, and if it goes below, it's called the descender. So it's going below your baseline. Those are the major important things. Let me just do this. For what the stuff that we're looking at. Excuse me. Sorry, I told you guys I got a cold. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on. Let me close this. And how do I get rid of all that? Hold on. Erase. All right. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. All right. So we are going to look at a little bit of the history of logos. This is where you'll see a little bit of how logos morph and change over time. Thank you. All right. Let's look at this.
Think of a burger joint. You got it? We don't know you. We don't even know what country you live in. But we're sure that this crossed your mind. We don't have to tell you what this symbol means, or this one, or this one, or this one, or, well, you know what we mean. We have to live with the constant presence of brands from the moment we're born. They invaded our public lives decades ago. And thanks to the
So,
presence of brands.
have any of you guys ever gone to Times Square? We live in New York. Yeah. So Times Square is extremely overwhelming because all those billboards are just marketing coming at you from every direction. So when you're talking about the lights that are happening, all of those lights are trying to sell something. They're trying to get you to recognize a brand. There are logos everywhere. There's brand recognition everywhere when you go to Times Square. It is very overwhelming. So looking at it as a business person, as a marketing person, when you go to Times Square, now you look around and you're not just overwhelmed by the lights, but you're seeing who's doing what with their brand. It becomes a little bit more interesting. All right, I'm gonna move like
From the moment we're born, they invaded our public lives decades ago. And thanks to digital technology, they've reached every last corner of our private lives. Every one of them has a visual identity, a logo. Logos primarily have one practical goal: to use a symbol, font, or even a color to sum up the whole meaning of a brand. But of course, they're much more than that. Why do we connect with some logos so deeply? To start answering this question, you've got to go way back. A lot further than you'd think. Since the beginning of humanity, we've been using symbols to represent complex realities. The Christian cross appeared more than 2,000 years ago. Can it be considered a brand? What about the Jewish Star of David or the Islam Star and Crescent? All of these have one of the essential features of modern brands: their ability to refer to something intangible, impossible to convey with words, but that we associate with a type of behavior, a way of living and being. For sales, a lot of brands use messages about personal improvement and a sense of community, traditionally associated with spiritual worship. Because it's all about selling. Getting the client to associate positive values with your brand. And we've been doing this for centuries. They've found ceramics in very different civilizations, like in China and the Aztec and Roman empires, with marks that refer to their makers with basic symbols. And let's not forget about masons' marks, symbols that these professionals etched onto their work that can still be seen today. Using these marks, different stonemason guilds stated their origin, the type of route that they worked on, or how experienced they were. In
Portugal.
Europe and Asia during the Middle Ages, society was separated into different classes: the nobility, the clergy, and peasants. Starting in the 10th century with the establishment of the orders of chivalry, a practical problem came up. Knights, covered in armor from head to toe, were unrecognizable on the battlefield and in tournaments. So they began decorating their shields with symbols and colors to differentiate them from everyone else. This is how heraldic art emerged, that over the course of centuries would also come to define the network connected to these knights, their squires, wives, properties, territories. Heraldry would move on to commercial brands in their capacity to create a sense of belonging to a human group, a feeling of familiarity. Some of the first European trademarks came from family crests, as is the case of the office supply brand Pelican or the well-known car manufacturer Peugeot. Over the years, its design was simplified. The system of identifying family clans also existed in Japan, although in a more minimalist way. This is where the mon emerges, emblematic circles used by aristocratic families that would end up catching on throughout society. The mon would also have an impact on the origins of the first brands in Japan. The Mitsubishi logo, for example, combines the Iwasaki family emblem, the family that founded the appliance brand, and the Yamanouchi, the first to start the company. All of these brands got started at a time when the world was about to change forever. A political, social, economic, and cultural changes that would give rise to logo creation